Hello dear friends, once again it's hearty and warm welcome. Dear friends, in our today's lecture, we are going to learn little bit about the topic nervous tissue or neural tissue. Friends, in your 11th class, you people have already studied that in animals there are 4 different types of tissues are present, such as epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscles or muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Now here once again we people have to learn little bit about the nervous tissue or neural tissue. We all are aware that the nervous tissue, it forms the nervous system in animals. Nervous tissue, it forms the nervous system in animals. Now this nervous tissue is ectodermal in origin. It means it arises from the ectoderm. Nervous tissue is ectodermal in origin. It means it arises from the ectoderm. We all are aware about the different germ layers: ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. So simply here I want to tell you that the nervous tissue, it is derived, it arises from the ectoderm, and therefore I said the nervous tissue is ectodermal in origin. Now we people have to understand about the different components of nervous tissue. The nervous tissue consists of different components such as the nerve cells. नर्वस टिश्यू मराठीत आपण ज्याला चेता ऊती असं म्हणतो त्याचे अनेक वेगवेगळे घटक आहेत, such as the nerve cells or simply called as neurons. Second, nerve fibers, then nerves, then neuroglial cells, these are packaging cells. Then there are presence of certain epithelial cells called as ependymal cells and neurosecretory cells. So these are the major components of the nervous tissue. Say the nerve cells or neurons, in Marathi cheta peshi, nerve fibers cheta tantu, nerves cheta, neuroglial cells, these are packaging cells about which we shall discuss. Then ependymal cells, I said these are actually the epithelial cells, modified epithelial cells, and neurosecretory cells which are responsible for the secretion of certain neurotransmitters, etc. Now first of all we people have to discuss here about the nerve cells or neurons. So let us talk about it. Nerve cells or neurons. The nerve cell or neuron is called as structural and functional unit. Structural and functional unit of nervous tissue, and so the structural and functional unit of nervous system. I said that the nerve cell or neuron is called as the basic structural and functional unit of nervous tissue, and so the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Now we people have to study about the structure of nerve cell, but before to that let me tell you that the nerve cells do not have ability to undergo division, and therefore immediately after birth there is no further division of nerve cell, and therefore the number of nerve cells in the body of that individual remains same throughout the life. Now let us talk about the structure of nerve cell. Typically nerve cell, neuron, it consists of two two main parts. सर्वसाधारणपणे चेतापेशीचे दोन प्रमुख भाग पाडले जातात, such as the first one is known as cell body or it may be known as cyton, and second as cell processes, nerve cell processes, or simply called as protoplasmic processes. First of all, let us discuss about the cell body or cyton. Let us talk about the cyton. The cell body or cyton is also known as perikaryon or Soma. Cyton or cell body, it may be known as perikaryon or Soma. This cyton is either rounded or it is oval or it is pyramidal or it is star shaped. Means there is variability in the shape of cyton. Simultaneously I am going to draw a diagram there. Let me show you. I said that the cyton is either rounded, oval, pyramidal or star shaped. Here let me draw the diagram. Suppose here is the cyton. Just consider here is a star shaped cyton. आपण कल्पना करूया, या ठिकाणी हा cyton मी star shaped दाखवतोय. Okay? The diameter of cyton is near about 13.5 micron. सर्वसाधारणपणे cytonची diameter ही 13.5 ही एवढी असते. The cell membrane or plasma membrane of the cyton of the cell body is known as neurolemma. Neurolemma. Listen, I said the cell membrane or plasma membrane of the cell body is known as neurolemma. Here neuri, this word stands for the neuron, nerve cell, chetapeshi, and lemma, it stands for the covering. And the cytoplasm enclosed by the cell body is known as neuroplasm. अर्थातच या ठिकाणी सेल बॉडी मध्ये असणारे जे पेशीद्रव्य आहे त्याला म्हटलं जातं neuroplasm. That is the cytoplasm of neuron. Neuroplasm. This neuroplasm, it encloses single, large, very distinct nucleus, and this nucleus encloses single, distinct nucleolus along with chromosomes. The nucleus is surrounded by neuroplasm, I have already told you, and this neuroplasm, it consists of certain threads. या न्यूरोप्लाझम मध्ये पेशीद्रव्यामध्ये काही थ्रेड्स असतात, such as the neurofibrils and neurotubules. Let me tell you, the neuroplasm, it consists of certain threads. न्यूरोप्लाझम मध्ये काही तंतू असतात दोन प्रकारचे, neurofibrils. These neurofibrils are very fine threads having the diameter of just 10 nanometer and slightly thick threads called as neurotubules with diameter of near about 25 nanometer. So I said that the neuroplasm, it consists of two types of threads, neurofibrils and neurotubules. Let me tell you the role of these neurofibrils and neurotubules also. या ठिकाणी हे जे neurofibrils आहेत, that neurofibrils probably play important role in the transmission of impulses. म्हणजेच विद्युत संवेदनेचं वहन करण्याच्या कार्यामध्ये हे neurofibrils महत्त्वाचं कार्य करत असतात. While the neurotubules are responsible to maintain a particular shape of the cyton or cell body. Actually, the neurofibrils, they form a very intricate, that is highly complicated network in the neuroplasm. या neuroplasm मध्ये या neurofibrils अतिशय कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, इंट्रिकेट, किचकट अशा प्रकारचं जाळं तयार झालेलं असतं. In addition to the neurofibrils and neurotubules, also there are presence of numerous granules called as Nissl granules. Nissl granules. या ठिकाणी या न्यूरोप्लाझम मध्ये न्यूरोफायब्रिल्स आणि न्यूरोट्युब्युल्स याच्या व्यतिरिक्त आणखीन असंख्य असे ग्रॅन्युल्स दिसतात, पार्टिकल्स दिसतात, ज्यांना Nissl granules असं म्हणतात. लेट मी शो दीज आर द Nissl granules. Actually these Nissl granules are cisternae of rough endoplasmic reticulum, and these Nissl granules are responsible for the synthesis of proteins. खरं वास्तविक हे Nissl granules म्हणजे रफ एंडोप्लाझ्मिक रेटिक्युलमच्या सिस्टर्नी आहेत आणि त्यांचं कार्य आहे प्रोटीन सिंथेसिस करणं. इट मीन्स Nissl granules are directly referred, these are the protein granules or these are the proteins. Okay, now let us talk about the second component of nerve cell, that is nerve processes, cytoplasmic processes. Let me talk briefly once again about the cyton. I said that the cyton or cell body is also called as perikaryon or soma. It is either rounded, oval, pyramidal or star shaped. Generally, the diameter of cyton is 13.5 micron. The plasma membrane or cell membrane of cyton is known as neurolemma, while the cytoplasm enclosed by it is known as neuroplasm. This neuroplasm contains central, single, large, distinct nucleus with single nucleolus along with chromosomes. The neuroplasm contains many threads, that is neurofibrils and neurotubules, as well as there are presence of many Nissl granules. Now let us talk about the nerve cell processes. Let me tell you cell processes. There are two different types of cell processes, such as first Dendrons or Dendrites, and second Axon. Let us talk first of all about the Dendrons or Dendrites. There is a slight difference between these two terms. First of all, let me tell you what is Dendron, what are Dendrons. Dendrons are nothing but these are numerous small conical projections. Let me show in the diagram. Here, these small conical projections of the cyton are known as dendrons. And these dendrons give off many fine branches known as dendrites. Of course, this branching nature facilitates surface area for transmission of impulses. So mind well, dendrons are nothing but these are small conical projections of the cyton, and dendrons give rise to many branches known as the dendrites. Of course, these dendrons and dendrites also contain neurofibrils, neurotubules as well as Nissl granules. The role of dendrites is to bring impulses towards the cyton. It means they convey the impulses towards the cyton. याचा अर्थ दुसरीकडून आलेले नर्व इम्पल्सेस, दुसरीकडून आलेल्या विद्युत संवेदना या सायटॉन कडे आणण्याचं कार्य या डेंड्रॉन्स मार्फत केलं जातं, डेंड्राइट्स मार्फत केलं जातं. नाउ लेट अस टॉक अबाउट द axon. आता आपण axon बाबत बोलू. Axon, it is single very long cylindrical process and it has almost same diameter along its length. Let me show you. The axon is single, very long cylindrical process with same diameter throughout its length. The axon, it arises from a small conical process of the Cyton known as axon hillock. Look at the diagram. या ठिकाणी सायटॉनच्या ज्या कोनिकल प्रोसेस पासून कोनिकल प्रोजेक्शन पासून एक्झॉन ही निर्माण होत असते त्या कोनिकल प्रोसेसला एक्झॉन हिलॉक असं म्हटलं जातं. द सेल मेम्ब्रेन ऑफ द एक्झॉन इज नोन ॲज एक्झोलेमा while the cytoplasm enclosed by axon is known as exoplasm. Of course, this exoplasm also contains the neurofibrils, neurotubules, but it lacks Nissl granules. Please try to understand. You must know the difference between Dendron, Dendrites and Axon. Okay, the Dendrons and Dendrites, these are many in number, these are highly branched, these are short and very thin. On the other hand, the Axon is single. It is elongated, cylindrical, comparatively thick. The Dendrons show presence of neurofibrils, neurotubules as well as Nissl granules, but the Axon is without Nissl granules, though it show presence of neurofibrils and neurotubules. अर्थात या एक्झॉन मध्ये न्यूरोफायब्रिल्स आहेत, न्यूरोट्युब्युल्स आहेत, पण Nissl granules नाहीत. And that's why for protein synthesis, for protein, the axon is depend on Cyton. कारण आधीच मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं की हे जे Nissl granules आहेत ते रफ एंडोप्लाझ्मिक रेटिक्युलमच्या सिस्टरनी आहेत की ज्यांचं कार्य आहे प्रोटीन तयार करणं. मग या ठिकाणी एक्झॉन मध्ये जर Nissl granules नाहीत आणि म्हणून त्यांना प्रोटीनसाठी सायटॉन किंवा सेल बॉडीवर अवलंबून राहावं लागतं. द एक्झॉन इज मोस्टली अनब्रांच्ड, but sometimes it may show branch. It may show the branch. Such lateral branches are called as collateral fibers. It may be single or may be more than one. The terminal end of axon shows terminal arborization. It means at the terminal end, the axon gives rise to many small branches known as terminal arborization. Arborization, you know, arbor, this word stands for branching nature or tree. So here at the terminal end of axon, many branches are seen. It is known as terminal arborization. The terminal end of each branch shows a small solen structure. These small solen structures are known as synaptic knots. Synaptic knots. And these synaptic knots contain mitochondria as well as certain secretory vesicles which are responsible for the secretion of neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine. Now these terminal arborization, that is the terminal branches of axon, are connected with the dendron of another neuron, or it may be connected with the axon of another neuron, or maybe simply the cyton of another neuron. But there is no direct and physical contact between the two successive neurons. Let me explain you. Suppose here is the cyton of another neuron. कल्पना करा की या ठिकाणी दुसरा कुठला तरी न्यूरॉन आहे, त्याचं हे सायटॉन आहे आणि त्याचं या ठिकाणी अशा प्रकारच्या डेंड्राइट्स आहेत. या ठिकाणी पहिल्या न्यूरॉनचं एक्झॉन किंवा पहिल्या न्यूरॉनच्या टर्मिनल ब्रांचेस आणि दुसऱ्या न्यूरॉनच्या डेंड्राइट्स या क्लोजली असोसिएटेड असतात, बट दे आर नॉट इन फिजिकल कॉन्टॅक्ट. मीन्स there is a very fine microscopic gap between the cell membrane of axonic fiber and dendrites. म्हणजे त्या ठिकाणी axon, एका न्यूरॉनचं axon आणि दुसऱ्या न्यूरॉनचं डेंड्राइट या दोघांमध्ये अतिशय मायक्रोस्कोपिक अशी गॅप असते, having the diameter of about 200 angstrom. Okay, means there is no direct physical connection, and therefore such terminal connection, such end-to-end connection of two neurons with a little gap is known as synapse, or the junction of two neurons is known as synapse, about which we shall talk later on in very detail. And these synapse mostly एक्सोडेंड्रॉनिक. लक्षात घ्या, प्रामुख्याने हे जे सिनॅप्स आहे, सिनॅप्स म्हणजे आता मी म्हटलं की जंक्शन ऑफ टू न्यूरॉन्स, दोन न्यूरॉन्स मधलं जंक्शन, याला सिनॅप्स असं म्हटलं जातं. आणि हे प्रामुख्याने दिस सिनॅप्स इज मोस्टली एक्सोडेंड्रॉनिक. इट मीन्स द जंक्शन बिटवीन एक्सॉन ऑफ वन न्यूरॉन and dendron of another neuron, or sometimes it is exo-axonic, that is the axon of two neurons, or maybe simply dendrodendronic, that is the dendrons of two neurons, or it may be axosomatic. It means the axon of one neuron and cell body of another neuron. Now here we people have discussed simply about the structure of typical neuron. Basically you people might have studied in 11. Whatever diagram of neuron here I have drawn, it is multipolar neuron. या ठिकाणी मी multipolar neuron ची डायग्राम काढून तुम्हाला शिकवलेलं आहे. Multipolar याचा अर्थ काय? The neuron in which the cyton shows many processes. You can see in this diagram. Here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dendrons and one axon. There are other type of neurons also, such as unipolar, bipolar. Unipolar neuron means the neuron in which the cyton shows only one process and it splits up into one dendron and another axon. It is called unipolar neuron. Uni stands for one. Sometimes the cyton, it shows two processes arising from opposite sides or opposite poles of the cyton. One is shorter, that is dendron, and another is longer, that is axon. Such type of neuron is known as the bipolar neuron. But the most commonly occurring neurons are of this type, that is nothing but the multipolar neuron. So here we have discussed about the first component of neural tissue, that is nerve cell or neuron. We are going to stop here today, but just I want to add one more point, that the cyton, या ठिकाणी जो cyton आहे, cyton मध्ये असणारे जे पेशीद्रव्य आहे, neuroplasm, त्याबाबत मी तुम्हाला बोलताना सांगितलं की इट कन्सिस्ट ऑफ neurofibrils, neurotubules as well as Nissl granules. In addition to that, it also contains some pigments. या ठिकाणी या neuroplasm मध्ये काही pigments पण असतात, such as the yellow brown pigment known as lipofuscin and dark brown pigment, that is melanin. So here we have studied only about the neuron. Let us stop here today. Thank you and bye.